Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, we're back. It's day 3. How about that? The first week continues here on America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. We are getting great response from the listeners and everybody else. Want to give a big shout out to everybody who has been enjoying this ride for the first week. And yesterday's show was great. Today's show, we've got another one action-packed for you. Now, look, I've said all week long, and I'll continue to say it, that we're bringing this show back to its original roots with Larry King and Jimbo Hannon. Now, I can't be Jimbo Hannon or Larry King. I can only be myself. But the idea is to sort of wide-ranging topics and wide-ranging interviews. So that's why I'm so excited today, because when you're in talk radio and you sort of keep a running list in your head of, if I ever get a show, this is the guest I want. This is the person I want to get. And I've known this guest we're going to have coming up here in a bit for a long time, and I've admired his work tremendously on the radio. Talked to him a couple times on the radio, but he is a gentleman who I met 20 years ago. And he was a young kid just trying to break into radio. And as all of us do, right? Fits and starts and ins and outs. And he did a couple of FM DJ spots along the way. And then, I don't know, maybe about 5-6 years ago, he decided to quit his job and become a travel reporter. And in the last 5 years or so, Bill Clevlen has created a great business for himself. It's called Bill on the Road, and he's out with a new book, Great Presidential Places to Go. And he goes around the country, and he sees the sights, and he sees the world's largest ball of twine, and he reports on it, and he does videos, and he writes blog posts on it, and he's our friend. And I said, one of the first people I called up, I said, Bill, if you, now that I'm doing this show, do you want to come on once a week and we can do a travel segment? And he said, I'd love to. So tonight is our inaugural debut travel segment with Bill Clevlen from Bill on the Road. So that's going to come up here in a little bit. But first, let me get to some of the headlines today. The House Oversight Committee obtained new records from major financial institutions, Deutsche Bank and others, tied to the Jeffrey Epstein probe, and released, there's now video of Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Now, this whole Jeffrey Epstein story, makes me want to take a shower every time I talk about it. So I don't talk about it much. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I actually think that this Jeffrey Epstein story might turn me into a conspiracy theorist. I haven't seen all the video. I've just seen some of the clips. It doesn't expose anything. You don't see anything. There's nothing nefarious in these clips. But I got to tell you, just looking at the wall art or the bookcase or the couch or the walls, it gives you the creeps, man. It's just, I don't know how this is going to play out, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't think there's anything in the quote-unquote Jeffrey Epstein files that everyone thinks there's a smoking gun. We'll just have to wait and see. But seeing this video of the island where all these terrible things happened, man, it is, I would recommend looking away or turning it off. But it is a bit skeevy, if I do say so myself. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is now saying agents are on their way to New Orleans targeting undocumented immigrants. New Orleans, the latest place where ICE is going to go in and start picking off undocumented immigrants. Here in, we've heard about it in Chicago and Washington, D.C. and L.A. and some other big cities. It's weird because I know of some businesses and some friends and some stories that are not in necessarily big cities. I know Nebraska's gone through quite a bit of it. I know St. Louis has gone through quite a bit of it, just anecdotally. And so now they're headed off to New Orleans. And performance art continues, in my humble opinion. While that's going on, the Trump administration halted green card and citizenship processes for immigrants from 19 countries that he deemed he doesn't want them coming into the country. Look, I know this is what he ran on. I know this is very popular with his base. But if you remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago where he said America didn't have enough talent and we need visas and we need people to come in and the farmers need these workers. So he's kind of, in one hand, halting green card and citizenship processing and cracking down on undocumented immigrants who may or may not be violating any laws other than illegally coming into the country. And on the other hand, he says that we don't have the talent in this country, and we need workers. So President Trump saying and doing all things at all times. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as if this poor guy needs any more headaches. He's in the midst of this ongoing illegal orders story. And they bring up the fact that, oh, yeah, let's remind everybody that he texted war plans and military plans to a journalist earlier this year. The defense secretary likely broke some of the Pentagon regulations when he shared that sensitive information on his cell phone. That is, according to a new internal report. Man, Washington, man, they know how to hit a guy when he's down. It looks like it didn't appear to break any laws. But obviously, I don't think we want the defense secretary texting military plans before they happen to journalists. But that guy's Pete Hegseth is having a very bad week. Also, this Navy General Mitch Bradley today was scheduled to brief Senate lawmakers behind closed doors on that Venezuelan boat strike. Who knows when we're going to find out what happens there, but wouldn't you have liked to have been a fly on the wall there? A couple of other interesting stories along the way. I know what. So Trump pardons a Democratic House member from Texas. And Donald Trump is the Democrats' best friend. 2 weeks ago, he's in the White House with Mondami, and they're buds. They're hanging out. They're raising a glass together, saying nice things about each other. And, Mondami went from the devil to all of a sudden he's Trump's best friend. Now, Henry Cuellar, he pardons a representative from Texas who was in some legal troubles for apparently accepting some bribes in exchange for influencing some U.S. foreign policy. Him and his wife were accused and charged of accepting $600,000 in bribes. A Democratic House member. The House is so tight, back and forth, every seat matters. So not only did Donald Trump pardon this guy, he's now going to run for re-election. He's probably going to win. A chance for the Republicans to pick up a seat now is sort of gone by the wayside because Trump gave him a pardon. So this is the second time in 2 weeks President Trump has been the Democrats' best friend. Republicans won't say anything, won't curry any favor with the Democrats, but I thought that was an odd move by a president who is clinging to power in the House by only a few votes. And then finally, before we head off to Bill Clevlen, Bad Bunny. Here's the biggest story of the day, really. Spotify says that Bad Bunny has now dethroned Taylor Swift as the most streamed artist. Bad Bunny has dethroned Taylor Swift. Listen to this. Bad Bunny has streamed more than 19.8 billion streams in 2025. 19.8 billion. Now, that seems like a lot. We grew up in an era where you had a 45 or you had an album. If you add up the albums sold, right, they said, 1 million albums sold. Those million albums, how often did those play? So, the Beatles, if Bad Bunny was streamed 19 billion times, how many times were the Beatles albums played? Hundreds of billions of times? So anyway, Bad Bunny's in. Taylor Swift is out as the most streamed artist of 2025. Stay right there. We're going to go on the road with Bill Clevlen, our first On the Road with Bill segment coming up here in just a moment. 8:16 here, Big 550. Oh, no. Hold on a second here. I would do it, but I don't have the copy. How about we come back and do it in a second? They're telling me I got to do a live read. This is what we call, it worked in rehearsal. Who knows? 8:16, America at Night. Back in a moment.
Live from coast to coast, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, we'll get to Bill Clevlen in just a minute, but let me do a little business here. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or to prevent any disease or condition. But with all these holiday parties and family dinners and everything else going on, it's like I'm overindulging on this holiday season. Heavy meals, plenty of turkey, maybe even occasional second or third drink. The liver, it's working overtime. Thank goodness I found Active Liver from New Nordic. If you're feeling low energy or bloated, now these could be signs that your liver needs a little bit of love. Help it out with Active Liver from New Nordic. It's the simple way to give your liver the daily shot of extra support so you can actually enjoy the holidays. It's made with turmeric, milk thistle, and global artichoke extract. Those are natural ingredients shown in some studies for supporting liver health and helping your body clear out toxins from alcohol-enriched foods. Active Liver can help you give your liver the relief it needs so you can keep on holidaying, if you will. Find New Nordic's Active Liver online at Amazon, Vitacost.com, or iHerb.com, or in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, or ShopRite. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven welcomes in for our first of what I hope to be many segments, Bill Clevlen. Bill on the road. Bill, good to have you, my friend.
Hey there, McGraw. Good evening. Good evening, America. Great to be with you. Appreciate you having me.
When did I first meet you? 20 years ago?
Oh gosh, at least 20, maybe a little over 20 years ago in St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were trying to get into the radio, and you were a little kid hanging around the radio station, and who knew all these years later? So God love you, BillOnTheRoad.com. How long have you been I know you hate the phrase travel influencer. How long have you been a travel reporter, if you will?
Oh God, you're right. I do hate that phrase, travel influencer. How long have I? So I started in 2013, and like you, have done radio for most of my life, and had an opportunity to just kind of try something new. I started the website, did these little short road trips from St. Louis, and learned pretty quickly that there was a market for this, that people actually got paid to cover travel and tourism. And I was thinking about this earlier today, like what was my first road trip, because I think like most people, we take trips throughout our entire life with our family and so forth. And I remember taking a road trip. I think I was like 10. This would have been like in the 1980s. And I was on this youth group road trip with our church at the time, and we were all piled into one of these. It was a church van, and if you remember anything about those passenger vans in the 1980s, they were built like tanks. You shoot a missile at them and nothing was going to happen, and no kid had a seatbelt on, whatever. and I remember we're driving up Interstate 70, somewhere between St. Louis and Kansas City. And I remember that the weather was really bad. It was raining really bad. Couldn't see very well. And I remember sitting in the front row of this van. I was seated next to Mrs. Kemper. If I had to guess, she would have been probably about 70 years old. Her husband, Mr. Kemper, was driving the church van. And we're on our way. Weather's bad. And a car up ahead hits the brakes, and so Mr. Kemper, driving the church van, has to slam on the brakes of the van, and so we all kind of are jolted a little bit there, and everything's fine. But then a car comes up behind the church van and slams right into us. And so this was bad. And so after a minute or so, is everybody okay? You're kind of looking around, and again, I'm 10, right? I look up at the front of the van, and on the dashboard of the van were Mr. Kemper's teeth. They had flown out of his mouth and landed on the dashboard of the church van. Now I had never, I don't think most 10-year-olds have seen a grown-up's teeth come out of their mouth before. So pretty traumatic. And I remember looking over to the right of me, which the closest adult to confide in was Mrs. Kemper. And I look over, and Mrs. Kemper's hair was gone. She had a wig on. Her hair had flown off of her head and was laying on the floor of the church van. So this traumatic experience happened to me as maybe 10 years old. It is a wonder that I ever got back into a vehicle ever again.
That's perfect training ground. You're suffering from PTSD, and you're trying to rectify that wrong by taking road trips all over the place. We got to take a quick break. We're going to come back, talk more about some of this, but real quick, I got about a minute here before I have to break at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
You have a new book out called Presidential Road Trips, 100 Places to Explore and Experience the History of American Presidents. You, like me, love visiting presidents' homes, right? And that's what the book's all about?
It is, and I've been to pretty much all of them during the course of my career as a travel writer, and I decided to put the book together. And it's all places that you, as a traveler, can visit, places that you can actually go in and tour and walk through and see and experience. And it's really a lot of fun. It was really fun to put together. I've been to every single presidential library, I think almost every presidential grave site, memorial, museum. I've been to all of them. And it's a really neat book, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, no, it just came out. We'll come back and talk about it on the other side. But Presidential Road Trips, 100 Places to Explore and Experience the History of American Presidents, Presidential Homes. I know it's a little dorky, but it's a whole lot of fun. That's Bill Clevlen. The website is Bill on the Road. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. We are back in just one moment.
You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
We're back. Bill Clevlen, our guest. Bill on the Road, what I hope turns out to be many, many segments with Bill. Bill is a travel reporter, and he travels around the country, and he'll come each and every week and tell us all about it. His new book out is Presidential Road Trips, 100 Places to Explore and Experience, where all fine books are sold, including Amazon. Bill, let's talk about, I hate to ask you if you have a favorite, so I'll tell you my favorites, but Sagamore Hill in Oyster Bay, Long Island with Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know why that strikes me as such a good one, but I really enjoyed that.
Well, that's, aren't you from that area? You're from Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I got to see it just a few months ago, actually. It was one of the last ones because you kind of have to really want to get there, right? I mean, it's not like it's in the middle of the country. You got to take a little bit of a trip to get there. That's a fantastic one. There's another one in New York that I absolutely loved that was on my list to get to as well, and it was Ulysses S. Grant's cottage up in the Adirondack Mountains. It was the place where he spent the last, I think it was 28 days of his life, maybe last 30 days of his life. He wrote his memoirs there, and that was unbelievable to just be standing next to the two leather chairs that were propped together because the president, he had throat cancer, couldn't sleep in a normal bed, so he was propped up on these leather chairs at night. And just to be, I'm a really big believer in going to places and really experiencing history firsthand and standing in the spots that are so historic, because you can read books, you can read history books, you can watch a documentary on PBS, whatever. But when you're actually standing in the homes of these places, you really get a new perspective on who these people were. And I always tell people too, it really doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, whether you're liberal, conservative, when you're standing in their house, and you learn, kind of their quirks of what they did when they lived here and how they grew up. And you kind of have a different appreciation for these people, and you see them in a slightly different light than you might have otherwise.
So it's so funny you mention that, because looking at your book, you talk about your trip to Springfield, Illinois to go see Abraham Lincoln's house. And you had the same reaction I did walking up into the second story where he has his bedroom, and you're holding on to the railing as you're going up these steep stairs, and you think to yourself, that's the same railing Abraham Lincoln held every night. And you think to yourself, when in the world did you ever think you would be in the same place as Abraham Lincoln?
No, you're absolutely correct, and it is a really neat experience. And I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today. I booked I'll be going on a book tour next year, which will be a lot of fun. I'm going to a lot of these historic sites. I'll be speaking. Today I booked an event with the Benjamin Harrison presidential site. You probably didn't even know Benjamin Harrison was a president in Indianapolis. But I was telling her that, it's kind of a shame that I don't think most people even realize how many of these places have been preserved and how many places that you can go and actually, like we're talking about, use the handrail that the president used. Or, one of my favorites from earlier this year was down in Warm Springs, Georgia. FDR's, it was kind of his little getaway that he had in Georgia. He'd go down there to bathe in the warm springs. They thought that maybe it would help with his polio. But you can walk through this house and you literally are standing in the room where he died. He was having a portrait painted back in 1945 and had a stroke and ended up dying right there. So you're standing like right there where all this history happened. And it's like that for every single one of these sites. Something happened, or just to be in the presence of, an American president, like that's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, one of the. Did you make it to LBJ's home or library down in Austin, Texas? That was fascinating for lots of reasons. But you have to give them credit, because they portrayed LBJ, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they let the history really tell the story, good times and bad times.
So real quick, I could do 10 hours talking about LBJ. It was one of the most wild and bizarre presidents of our lifetime, our history. But my favorite part of touring the home of President Johnson was going into the closet where they had all of the giveaway items that LBJ would give away. He loved having his name on things, and he would give away electric toothbrushes. He would give away Zippo lighters. He would get anything you could think of. He had his name plastered onto it, and not that different from Trump, I suppose. And they had a whole closet just full of this stuff. And to see it in person, it was pretty neat.
What was your thoughts of Reagan's library and Reagan's home?
Reagan's presidential library is super cool. Love being able to walk through the Air Force One that he used when he was president. There's also one in Dayton, Ohio. I put this in the book. There's the Air Force Museum is there in Dayton, and you can walk through. They have this presidential hangar. Okay, so it's got, I think, 8 different presidential aircraft, including the Air Force One that was used by 7 different presidents. Most notable would have been John F. Kennedy. They used the plane to bring his body back from Dallas
wow.
after he had been assassinated. And you can walk through the Air Force One. It's a really cool museum, absolutely free. And yeah, you see that plane, Eisenhower's plane, Truman's plane. There's a bunch of them that you can see. It's a really cool museum.
You can walk through the plane that brought Kennedy's body back.
Right. Oh, step right over it. Yes.
Wow. You know, Reagan's library, where they have the Air Force One, where you can go into it, it's shockingly pedestrian. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a sign.
You've seen the movies, and you think, "Woohoo, here we go!" And you're like, "This is it. This is the Air Force One." It's not disappointing, because there are certain things that they point out that are pretty neat historical wise. But you're right. It is not what you would think in the movie.
They have
maybe it is now. I don't know.
They have a little, it's certainly not the West Wing. They have a little wooden box with a little small TV and a VCR sort of attachment, and it says, "Do not play top secret VCR tapes on this VCR."
Yeah, no, we've come a long way, baby. Yeah, I think the Air Force One probably looks a lot different today.
Bill, can you hold on through the break? We got one more segment to do with you.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Bill Clevlen is our travel guru. BillOnTheRoad.com is the website. In his book, Presidential Road Trips, 100 Places to Explore and Experience the History of American Presidents, Amazon, and also BillOnTheRoad.com. It's America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Back in a moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Join the nightly conversation, America at Night, with McGraw Milhaven.
Bill on the Road, our travel segment, the first one of what I hope to be a number and a long-running segment here on the show with Bill Clevlen. BillOnTheRoad.com is his website. He has a new book out, Presidential Road Trips, 100 Places to Explore and Experience the History of American Presidents. Bill, take me through what is it you're working on? What can we look forward to? Where are you now? What's going on?
Right now I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, freezing my butt off, ready to go to Palm Springs, California. So we're counting down the days for that. So what do I have going on? McGraw, I'm incredibly blessed. People who, your listeners may not know this about me or know anything about me, but I consider myself to be one of the luckiest people in the world, because I get to travel, and I get to travel. In theory, I travel full time. In 2022, I sold my home in the St. Louis area, and I sold everything inside of it. And I don't even know if you knew this, but I got rid of everything, and basically all I had left were maybe like 2 or 3, small cardboard boxes, some sentimental things, and just decided to go full time. I had been covering travel for 13 years, or I guess at that time it would have been 11. But I decided, just instead of coming back to a home base, let's just do it. Like, let's just go see America, see the world, see what I can see. And so the first road trip that I did after I sold my house was 262 days in a row. I just kept driving, and I went to, I think, my God, I went to like 36 different states. Went all the way down through the Carolinas into Florida, down the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Route 66, up the Pacific Coast Highway, a bunch of national parks. It was an absolute blast. And so I continue to travel full time, take a little time off here and there. I get to visit with family and friends along the way. That's code word for being a mooch and sleeping on somebody's couch occasionally. But it's just an absolute thrill, and I consider myself incredibly lucky. And really, one of the cool things about what I do full time now is, I get to visit these quirky roadside attractions. So if it's the world's largest ball of twine, which actually that's one I haven't seen yet, but yeah, the world's largest mailbox, or the whatever, I'm always pulling off the road and finding cool things, always meeting really neat, interesting people, and really just having the time of my life. And so for folks that want to follow along when we're not on the air, I have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Bill on the Road. Always posting pictures and videos of things that I'm doing while I'm out there. But starting, I guess, next week, I'll head down to Arkansas, hitting up a couple national parks, and then. But I'm working my way out to the West Coast. So
Now,
the good news is I get to live like a retired person now.
Do you live in an RV, or how do you do this? You sleep in your car?
It's the hardest thing it is the hardest thing in the world to explain to people. But in a nutshell, when I travel, I work with a lot of tourism offices. Pretty much every city, county, certainly every state has what we call a tourism office. And so they help me find lodging along the way. I mentioned truly, I've made so many friends, McGraw, all over this country, that if I wanted to, I would have a place to sleep every night for the entire year. Like, just because people are just so gracious, or they feel sorry for me. That could be it too. So I'll visit with family and friends around the country. Maybe I do Airbnb occasionally, but never slept in the car. Knock on wood here. In 13 years, I've never had to sleep in my car.
What a great story, and I love it. I mean, Wanderlust, I could never do it, but the fact that you're doing it, and it's a time of your life. It's a great story, and you get to come here each week and talk about it and post pictures on your blog and the website and everything else. So talk about your website for a second, because apparently people come to your website from all different places with all different search engines. What's going on there?
Yeah, so it's not to get too technical, but there's a thing called analytics that most of the people, if you have a website, you can kind of dial in and see who's coming to your site and see what sort of key phrases that they're using. And I'll keep this brief. I don't know how much time we have, but about 2 or 3, I guess it's been 3 years ago, I decided to do a road trip down. Have you ever heard of a place called the Villages in Florida? Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
It's a retirement community. I think you have to be over 55. There are tons of rumors and things swirling around about this place, and I had heard a bunch of them. I heard that it's like swingers everywhere. I've heard that it's the highest STD per capita in the world. I'm like, oh, good grief, come on. So I decided to go, and I went down. It was about this time of the year. No, I guess it would have been right around Christmas, because I went down. I got an Airbnb for like 3 nights. I stayed with this really nice older lady, I get there, and she's like, "Do you want to go with me to Christmas Eve service?" Sure, I'll go with you. So I get there and I sit down on the pew, McGraw, my hand to God. I'm in the church no more than 5 minutes. A guy comes over to me and he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "St. Louis." He goes, "I bet you think we're all swingers here, don't you? We're in church. It's Christmas music is playing." And this guy's talking. And I said, "Well, no, sir, I don't know yet. Let me do some investigating." And, you can find the story on my website. And I basically did some digging around. And, one of the rumors was that people would take these loofah sponges, you know what I'm talking about, those things?
Yes,
and they would put them on their cars, and people were like, "Oh, see, that's how they get together. They put their loofahs on the car, and that's how that's one of your people." Well, what was going on was that you got a bunch of really old people that couldn't figure out how to get back to their car when they left the grocery store. So that's how they found their cars, were the different colored loofahs on the car. So that wasn't a swinging thing. The upside down pineapples, I didn't see any of that. But here's the deal. So this article that I wrote about my time in the Villages, this thing went viral. Okay. And I still get, every week I probably get $12 in royalty from this article that is still floating around cyberspace. So at the end of the year, I always check what are the key words that people are using in Google to find Bill on the Road. And I have a lot of great stories, things I'm really proud of. Unfortunately, at the end of every year, what brings more people to Bill on the Road? The phrase is swingers in the villages. So that, friends, is what I am known for. I've never been invited to any swinging parties. I don't know much about it, but that apparently is what Google believes is my, that's the top thing for Bill on the Road.
So what you're saying is that if people want to find BillOnTheRoad.com, just type in swingers at the villages, and it'll take you right to Bill on the Road.
I am not even joking. You can do it right now while we're on the air. I guarantee you, it is the number one thing that'll pop up on that search engine. You'll see my day in the villages or whatever it's called. And I laugh all the way to the bank, McGraw. I get a little
God
check
love you.
I
love it,
so,
Bill. I love it. I told this story earlier, and I told you when I first called you up and said, would you come on to the show in a weekly travel segment? You in your mind, you have these things. If you ever get a show, who would you want to call? What kind of segments would you want to do? And you were at the top because you got a great personality, you're a great storyteller, and you're seeing the world, you're seeing the country, and you're going to come back and tell us each and every week. So it's great. The book is called Presidential Road Trips: 100 Places to Explore, Experience the History of American Presidents and Loofah Sponges, apparently. You can find it by Googling the villages, the swingers at the villages, or BillOnTheRoad.com. Now, look, here's the deal. I'll tell you, but I have a great story of visiting Harry Truman's house in Independence, Missouri, about 20 years or so ago. That's one of the great presidential houses of all time. I'll tell that story in the third hour. But Bill, we'll let you go. We'll let you get back to what you're doing. I guess we'll check in with you from Palm Springs next Thursday. We're going to have you on Thursdays, and that's the plan. So thanks for checking in, Bill, and thanks for all you do for us.
All right. Hopefully, I won't be broadcasting from my car. We'll see how it goes.
Make sure there's not a loofah sponge on the roof or something. There you go. Bill, have yourself. All right, have a good night. Bill Clevlen, ladies and gentlemen. The website is BillOnTheRoad.com, and the book, one more time, is Presidential Road Trips: 100 Places to Explore and Experience the History of American Presidents. I don't have time to tell it now, but I promise you, in the open hour segment, I'll tell you a story about my trip to Harry Truman's house in Independence, Missouri. It's one of the great stories. I don't think I've ever told the story on the air either. Oh, I got to do this. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven. And this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Hey, we're back. McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Thanks for joining us in our inaugural week. Lots to get to. Open phones next hour, of course. This hour, though, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Most importantly, we're going to talk to a human resources management expert about, well, how do you find a job in this day and age with artificial intelligence and with all these robots reading your resume and having to stand out from a crowd of 600 resumes that are given every single day. Dante King joins us. Dante, you are a human resources management expert. Thanks for joining us here on America at Night.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be with you.
You know, I often joke that the reason why I got into radio was this was the only job somebody would hire me for. I didn't really know how to find a job. I went to the want ads and, read the classifieds, and somehow somebody in radio hired me, and that's how I got the job. I mean, over the last 20 years, right, finding a job has changed dramatically, hasn't it?
It has, and I think when we look at, for example, MIT and Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the study that they just released, which is one of the most comprehensive studies on AI and the American workforce, the findings are striking. They've developed something called the Iceberg Index, which is basically a digital twin of the entire U.S. labor market, covering over about 151 million workers mapped across 32,000 skills and 923 occupations. And when they run AI through that model, they find that today's AI systems can already perform enough tasks to replace almost 12% of the U.S. labor market. That's about 18 million jobs and equivalent to about $1.2 trillion in wages. And that's not theoretical. It's not in the future, but right now. And so when you talk about, what people should do or be focused on in terms of finding jobs, part of what I've been telling people in terms of, responding to this index and the data that it's showing to organizations is that the U.S. needs to invest in massive reskilling, especially for routine task workers, and I can get into what some of those areas are too, but preparing everyone for skill-intensive roles, not waiting until they are displaced. Also modernizing education from K-12 to community colleges to include AI literacy. This is vital for the future of our population.
Yeah, let's talk about college graduates for a second, because that's gotten a lot of attention in the news. Are you starting to see what they're talking about? Is it really happening where college graduates, these entry-level positions are being taken up by artificial intelligence, and so therefore these college kids who have college degrees are not getting hired, and instead the businesses and the companies are using AI instead of these first-year employees?
Well, that's what the data is showing us. And so, for instance, when people think about AI replacing jobs, there's often a conversation about coding roles or tech layoffs. But what MIT's study shows is that for those visible changes, that part of that those jobs represent roughly 2.2% of the total wage exposure. But the real story is really below the surface because the vast majority of exposure is happening in areas people never associate with AI. And so the one article that showed that there were roughly 25% of those with 4-year degrees who were unable to locate work, those are real statistics because some of the industries that are affected or being affected by AI are human resources, finance, logistics, office administration, medical support roles, clerical work, customer service, billing, scheduling, and routine operational functions. These are the backbone of American workplaces, and they are precisely the roles that the Iceberg Index shows are most vulnerable. So, to that end, the data is showing how the American workforce is being impacted and will be impacted for years to come.
Let's take one of those. Let's take customer service, because I think most people have a concept of calling up a business and getting the recorded, thank you for calling. We can understand complete sentences. Tell us what you're calling us for, right? And you say, I have to pay a bill. I bounced a check. I want to return this sweater or whatever it is, right? And so I get that. But very quickly, that gets really annoying for the customer, me. And I'm constantly hitting 0 to try and, I just want to talk to a human. Please, can I talk to a human? And so while I understand artificial intelligence can do the job of a human, doesn't the human want the human interaction? And so there's only so far AI can take some of this stuff?
Yes. I think there are many layers to be dissected on this point. One being that, I've spoken to many people that I know who, may call their credit card companies, airlines, to check on travel arrangements. And, they have been met with people that might be, not located in the United States of America. And so many jobs, as you probably well know, have also been offshored, meaning that many customer service centers, call centers, are not even located in the U.S. anymore. And so sometimes there can be challenges in people understanding concerns that people have due to language differences. And I think, too, if we're thinking of technology of old, then yes, your concerns might be valid, or like the concerns you just voiced might be valid. However, if with the production of AI tools and software, if you're able to automate knowledge in a way that is so profoundly robust, where it feels like you're speaking to a human being, not even just in terms of voice relations, but the ability for these tools and resources to produce knowledge and information, that's what people want. They want information, and they want it quickly, they want it fast. It may also cut down on the challenges that people sometimes experience with coming up against employees who may not be as knowledgeable, who might have to put customers on hold to locate information or escalate calls. It may cut out all of that. So there may be some conveniences experienced from the AI integration that is to come. But I do also see your point, and I take your point seriously.
Yeah. Dante King is our guest. He's a human resource management and expert, consultant, author as well. Let me ask you this question, because I'm not skeptical of AI. I understand it's coming, but I in some ways I buy it, and in other ways I think it's being oversold. And so the gloom and doom aspect of this is my question. With technology, right? The anvil salesman went away, but the brake mechanic came in, right? And so does AI destroy some jobs, but then create jobs we don't even know exist today that will be plentiful in the future?
That's a really good question. That is possible. The iceberg index is not a prediction engine. It's not saying this job will disappear on this date. It's saying here are the skills AI can already perform. Here is where you are vulnerable. Here's where you must prepare. So it allows states and local governments and organizations to test policy interventions, examine workforce exposure, shift training dollars, explore economic outcomes, and potentially build strategic plans before billions are spent. So it's a tool for foresight, and foresight is power. And so right now, I don't think we can predict what are those jobs or industries that may be to come. But I do agree that human beings will still be needed and necessary in order to perform certain tasks, even where AI is involved. I think it's up to our population to become very skilled and experienced in using AI software and tools, so that people are prepared to assume those jobs when they appear.
Dante King, hold that thought. We're going to come back. Dante King, a human resources management expert. We're talking about the future of the workforce, artificial intelligence. Is it hype? Is it real? What's going on with that job market out there thanks to artificial intelligence? We'll come back, talk more with Dante King. McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Back in a moment.
America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Dante King is our guest. He is a human resources management. We're talking about artificial intelligence and how it is disrupting everything, including jobs and the job market. Dante, let's get into coding a little bit, because I can barely, as they used to say, program my VCR. Now I can barely set the alarm on my Apple Watch. But let's talk about these kids who are coming out of college with coding degrees and or computer science degrees. Are they saying that now or in the very near future, artificial intelligence will be able to do the jobs of these college graduates who went to school for 4 years to learn how to code?
I don't know if they're actually saying that, but I do believe that just based on what the data is showing, that so much of the coding will become automatable. And so to a degree, that industry may, and I think it's kind of already started happening. I think even with what we saw earlier this year with the Doge people operating at the federal level, that many of those people went in to do things. There were a lot of people that were laid off. But they went in to kind of revamp systems, processes, and, we're not hearing that the people who were laid off at the federal level are being replaced. I have a hunch that some of those jobs are, being transitioned into automatable positions that can produce tasks, that can produce information, that some of the former employees of the federal government were producing. I think, what's fascinating is that, for example, states like Tennessee, North Carolina, and Utah are already using the iceberg index to build policy scenarios. Tennessee has woven the model directly into its official AI workforce action plan. And I think, our federal government and other local and state governments should also develop AI workforce action plans. Tennessee currently, right now, they are running simulations to determine how to invest in reskilling, training programs, and regional economic planning before displacement hits their communities. And I think this is what proactive governance looks like. So I'm not sure about the coding, but I do think that it too is figured into what we're talking about.
Yeah. You mentioned Doge, and maybe some of those jobs were sort of transitioned into some type of automated role, but we also heard that they fired a bunch of people and had to hire a bunch of people back because they cut too much and computers couldn't do the jobs of the humans. So they had to actually bring back humans because they cut through the muscle and into the bone, if you will. What do you make of these stories of these businesses who they don't go all in on AI, but they have these sort of task force and they're getting back a bunch of AI slop? And yeah, great, it can code, it can do this, it can do finance, it can pay our bills, it can balance our books, but we got to have a human there to make sure that this computer we hired does it right. What do you make of those stories?
Well, that's really a profound point or question, because to that question, it's not a matter of AI just coming and replacing all human capital, but what it will do is replace some human capital because certain numbers of people are not necessary to complete certain tasks, such as maybe people who produce reports. I think one of the most important things to understand is that AI disruption is not evenly distributed at all, and it will affect the workforce population across the board. However, in the United States, Black, brown, immigrant, and low-wage workers are disproportionately concentrated in exact routine task occupations the AI index identifies as most automatable. And this is also true for some of the labor market members who are white. But for generations, structural forces have pushed non-white communities into administrative support roles, clerical work, service positions, as I mentioned earlier, logistics and warehouse support, low-wage professional roles, and high routine tasks. So these jobs are now the front line of AI-driven displacement. And so some people will be displaced.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that happens with all technology. And that's why, and we'll end on this, it's all about the soft skills, is it not? Right? It's the soft skills. And if you can learn the soft skills, you'll be able to survive in any environment, it seems like.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And so some of those soft skill industries, such as going into leadership, senior level management, where like you need to be able to think critically, bring people together, drive the production of work and outcomes. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, no, that's it's an interesting world. And I get that artificial intelligence is going to change the world. There's a part of me that thinks all these people are the same people who said that AOL and Time Warner merger was going to change the world, right? And, just you wait. This AOL Time Warner merger is going to change the world. And it turned out to be the biggest debacle, the world's ever seen. So I get it, but there's a part of me that says, I think these guys are talking too much, right? They're talking too pie in the sky. We might be there. It seems like we're a long way off. I don't know. What do I know? Dante King, I thank you. Go ahead. I'll let you get the last word.
Oh, well, thank you. And I was just going to say, over the last 30 years, we've seen, for example, in technological globalization, jobs disappear in the airline industry where, you've got kiosks where people self-check-in. I worked in banking where the teller line was totally obliterated and people were replaced with online banking and other means of doing transactions, banking. And so I do think we're seeing the same shift, but it's coming at a faster pace. And I hope people can check me out. Just go to DanteKing.com. And thank you for having me.
DanteKing.com. Dante, have a good night. Thanks for checking in.
You too. Bye-bye.
You got it. When we come back, we'll open up the phones and talk to you about finding a job, looking for a job. What do you see with AI? Start a little open phone conversation a little early tonight on America at Night. But there's no doubt about it. Trying to find a job today is a lot different than it was even 5-10 years ago. We'll get into all of that. DanteKing.com. Our expert tonight. McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Back in a moment.
This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Welcome to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
To you and me tonight, America at Night, McGraw Milhaven here. Here are the phone numbers, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. Starting open phones a little bit early. We were talking earlier this hour with a human resources expert about artificial intelligence, jobs, trying to find a job in the 21st century. You talk to these human resources people, you think about this. You have the ability now to send a resume to a company, or you have a chance to send 50 resumes in a matter of a few minutes, right? So everybody gets to send 50 resumes. So they'll post a job on a website, and you get 500, 600, 700 resumes. So that gets culled through artificial intelligence or some type of computer program, right? To, 150? I mean, how many can you actually look at as a human resources person? How will you know you're getting the right person? I mean, how do you have to trick the computer to get to the right algorithm to get to the right person? And then on top of this, the other thing that's so weird about jobs in the 21st century is many of these corporations don't even have job openings, but they're posting job openings. They're trolling. Maybe we'll find somebody. We're not really looking, but we'd like to fire Bob in accounting, but we don't really have anybody. Let's just sort of see if something's out there. Or they do it just to sort of, they've got mandates, or they want to set some type of quotas, or they want to look good, or they want to look like they're growing. So they just put out job interviews or job requests or job openings. So you're applying for a job that doesn't even exist. So your computer's trying to get a job with their computer. And like this job application is being created by a computer and being read by a computer. What's the point? I don't know how anybody finds a job in the 21st century. It is a bizarre way to run a business, that is for sure. But we can talk about this, and I truly, honestly will tell you, the reason why I'm in radio is I couldn't find a real job. That is no joke. People who know me, I tell this story that they're like, yeah, no, that's right. I couldn't really find a real job. And the only place that would hire me, I moved into a radio station, or I moved into an apartment, and across the street was a radio station. No joke, my car broke down. So I got a job across the street. It just happened to be a radio station. If it was a pizza place, I would have been working as a chef at a pizzeria, I guess. Let's go to Paul in Boise. Paul, are we going to make a habit out of this every night? Good morning and welcome to America at Night.
Good morning, Jim. Well, I enjoy your show. I enjoy your what the product that you're putting out there.
You enjoy
you
you enjoy the banter, in other words.
Well, yeah.
All right.
That's
What do you got for us tonight, Paul in Boise?
I don't know, when you struck a chord with me, because I remember what it was like to hit the bricks with your little 3-ring binder and your resume that was typed up in there, and it just one resume out of the binder at one location was all you got. You didn't get 500 out of it when you put it in. It's so different now. I mean, my working career is kind of not on the skids, but on the shining side of light, I guess would be to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I have applied for jobs just to sort of see what would happen, and you feel just useless because you send this resume into the ether and you never get a response, or you get a response that says, "Thank you, we received your resume and we'll keep it on file for 6 months," like you're ever going to get a call back in 6 months. There are people who are getting jobs through Monster.com or Indeed or something, I guess. And I've talked to some small businesses that have been very successful finding people and finding employees, good ones, on Indeed and Monster and some of these others. God love you. I don't know how to do it. Back in the day, there were people I went to college with. They got jobs, right? They knew how to play the game or work the system, or they never taught me. I never learned that skill, and so that's why I ended up in radio. The only one who would hire me.
Yeah, but look where you got to get onto was radio. You probably loved it. You just didn't quite know it yet.
Oh no, I knew it. I knew I loved it. To be all honest with you, Paul, I loved radio so much, but it shows you how stupid I was. I never was smart enough to say, wow, maybe I could do that. I loved radio. I listened to radio. I've always loved radio. And even after I graduated from college, I had a degree in history and political science. I had classmates who took like mass communications and television and radio. And I thought to myself, boy, that would be fun. But no, I can't do that. And so I finally graduated, finally got out, and I was just not smart enough to think maybe I could do that. And lo and behold, I tripped by accident into the front of a radio station, and they hired me for $6 an hour to change the tapes of Art Bell. And the first time I saw the inside of a radio station, I was hooked, and I said, I'm not doing anything else after this. And that started my 30-year journey.
No, I wasn't that lucky to trip in front of a radio station. I was hooked at age 6 with a transistor radio and a 1.5 battery in it. And,
yeah.
I was hooked from that point on, so I enjoy listening.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the phone call, and hang in there, and we'll talk to you another night. Thanks, man. My father heard me on the radio for the first time, and I came home, and he looked at me, and he said, it kind of felt bad for him when he said this. He said, I walked through the wrong door 30 years ago. I was like, oh, wow. He was a train conductor for the Long Island Railroad, working man. And he said, yeah, I walked in the wrong door 30 years ago. I always remember that, right? Life happens. You walk into a door and your life changes forever. So, all right. It is the middle of the night. Not the middle of the night. It's the evening. It's our third night on America at Night, and we're taking phone calls. I got lots more to get to, including I got to tell you a story about Harry Truman's house, and we got a love letter. Actually, it's not technically a love letter, but it's a nice letter from a listener. And I got to tell you, I'm a little shell-shocked. I'm a little worried because we're not getting any hate mail. I find this, I'm not used to this. Usually the audience hates me right off the back. So something's they're either shielding me or I don't know, but we've gotten a lot of great feedback. So I want to start off by saying that. But they sent me a letter today, and I want to read parts of it for you because this really goes to Alex and Richard and everybody on the team who has done a great job having me settle in for the night. Now, we're still going to take phone calls. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-262-4729. But we'll take some phone calls. But I wanted to read this letter because it was really a very sweet letter. It says, Dear Westwood One, I've been a longtime listener of America at Night and wanted to share an encouraging comment. Right then and there. Well, when I first opened it, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But he wants to share an encouraging comment. He says, Jim's shoes were, of course, awfully big to fill. Last night I listened to McGraw Milhaven's debut. And even with the natural first night jitters, I was glad to hear the program is moving back to the Larry King, Jimbo Hennon tradition of broad-ranging, engaging conversation. As radio listeners, we get plenty of politics throughout the day. What makes America at Night special is the ability to offer a variety, news, culture, entertainment, diverse perspectives, creating a show that truly feels like a late-night town hall. The balance makes it easier to stay tuned in and harder to drift off. If I may add one more wish, it would be wonderful to see the Mutual name revived, honoring the legacy that made this program so distinctive. Best of luck to McGraw and the entire team as you continue to build on this proud tradition. Sincerely, Tom in Pennsylvania. So, Tom, we got your letter. Thank you very much. It's so very nice of you to take the time to write a letter. Nobody does that anymore. And not only was it nice, but I agree. I'd love to bring back the Mutual name. I don't know who owns it. I don't know who has it. I don't know whatever happened to it. But right, how much fun would that be to call that Mutual again? Right, old school. But Westwood One's pretty good. So we'll don't forget gift horse in the mouth. We're Westwood One, and we are proud of it. And this is, as I said, opening night. This is hallowed radio ground, and we honor those who've come before us, and we'll try and keep up the tradition going forward. And that includes phone calls. What are you doing tonight? Where are you? What are you listening to? Why are you listening to? What's going on? What are your thoughts? I'm jonesing for some baseball. The Jets aren't doing anything. They're not going anywhere. Let's get to some baseball news. Let's have a grand old time. So the hour is, we'll start open phones early. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw. We'll get to those phone calls coming up here. It is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Back in a moment.
Join the conversation. Call 844-2-McGraw. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Live from coast to coast, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
Phone numbers. Phone numbers are as follows. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. We'll take some phone calls, and, of course, next hour, it is all about open phones. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, right? You had Black Friday, you had Small Business Saturday, you had Cyber Monday, and then Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. And yesterday, we talked about the wonderful story of Michael and Susan Dell giving away $6 billion in $250 increments to children. And that was part of the announcement with Trump accounts, right, where the federal government's going to give children of means tested, but children of families, $1,000 as a sort of a savings account to sort of start their life with. And I actually think I think that's a really cool idea, actually. Cory Booker came up with that idea in 2020. We were talking about this last night. Well, there was another story this morning about charitable giving from Elon Musk that I thought was kind of interesting. Elon Musk's, and I don't know if I'm supposed to like Elon Musk or hate Elon Musk. He was a liberal icon, then he was a MAGA, and now he's in with MAGA, but not with MAGA. I don't know. I'm confused as to where he falls down in the political spectrum of like or dislike. But Elon Musk's richest man in the world, his charitable foundation grew more than ever in 2024 in a New York Times article I read this morning. For the fourth year in a row, though, the charity failed to give away the minimum amount required by law. And the donations that he did make largely went to charities that were tied to Elon Musk. Must be nice. Those details were disclosed in the tax filings, which was released, and the New York Times took a look at it. The foundation is one of the largest in the country with more than $14 billion in assets. Mr. Musk, reading here from the article in the New York Times, used his nonprofit in ways that narrowly track the interests of his for-profit businesses. So his tax filings show that the Musk Foundation gave away $474 million, more than it has in any other prior year. But three-quarters of that money, $370 million, went to a nonprofit in Texas led by Elon Musk's top officials. That nonprofit appears to benefit Elon Musk's business empire. It operates an elementary school in the rural area of Texas next to a cluster of Elon Musk's companies. The foundation gave away $35 million to a philanthropic fund that is effectively under Elon Musk's influence. Elon Musk went on to say that it's very challenging to find a foundation to give his money away. He also says that he doesn't like to use his own name because he feels that that is inappropriate and a little bit of grandstanding. However, Mr. Musk's charitable foundation is called the Musk Foundation, and it was founded by him and his younger brother back in 2001. The guy's the richest man in the world, and he's giving away a pittance of money, and he's using it for his own benefit. So the tale of two billionaires, right? Michael and Susan Dell give $6 billion in $250 increments to 25 million children to sort of give them at least a little bit of a leg up or a little bit of a head start, to give them, right, some incentive, teach them a little bit about financial literacy, a little bit about savings, and right, doing what they can. Giving away $6 billion, man, that's more than a couple nickels in your couch. And they should be applauded, right? I think it's wonderful. And on the other side is Elon Musk, who's making sure his employees are taken care of. Not that his employees shouldn't be taken care of, but do you do that with your charitable arm, or do you do that with the actual company that they work for? But nonetheless, it is what it is. By the way, Uber announced today that they're starting driverless Ubers in Dallas. We haven't really talked about, we haven't talked about much because I've just been doing the show for 3 days, but driverless cars, I have an issue. I have issues with driverless cars. I don't understand how they actually work. I understand you don't have a car, you don't have a driver in the car. I understand that part. I have a friend who has a car, and they have a driverless feature in that car. And they put it on the driverless feature, and I feel panicked. Like I take my hands off the wheel, and I'm in this defensive mode, like ready to grab the steering wheel in a second. And then if you take your eyes off the road, the car tells you, please put your eyes back on the road. What good is a driverless car if I have to keep my eyes on the road? What good is a driverless car if I have to have so much angst about grabbing the steering wheel at any moment's notice? I don't, it's not very comfortable. Plus, I kind of like to drive. If you're going to drive. If you want somebody else to drive, hire somebody else to drive. Do you really need a driverless car? Anyway, Uber's doing it. I know it's in Phoenix. I know it's in Vegas. I know Waymo's got all these things, and I get it. It's clearly coming, but I don't get how it would work in a busy city like Dallas, where there are pedestrians walking on the street. When you cross the street, don't you kind of make eye contact with the car, and the driver sees you, you see the driver, he starts to slow down, you walk out, right, and you sort of, the driver sort of inches ahead and inches back, and there's this sort of nip and tuck and pull and push of a driver and a walker. How would that do with a driverless car? Or just sit there until all of the pedestrians cross the street, which could be hours if you're in New York City. All right, that's going to do it for hour number 2. Music comes. I'm getting good on this clock. I think I'm finally getting the hang of this clock after 3 days. Stay right there. Another hour to go with open phone calls. Our executive director is Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.
Westwood One presents America at Night. Here's your host, McGraw Milhaven.
Night 3. Night 3. I'm thinking I'm getting the hang of this show. How about that? America at Night, McGraw Milhaven. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Truly thank you for joining us. I'd like to know what you're doing tonight. Where are you? What are you doing tonight? What are you thinking? What's going on in that little noggin of yours? Let's have a little late night conversation. That's the best part of doing this show each and every night is the open phones. Use it or lose it. I've been promised that I'll be getting a text line here shortly. I've also been promised I'll be getting a login to the password. I guess I'm as a new employee of Westwood One, I'm still on double secret probation. But that's all coming down the road. 1-844-2-McGraw. 1-844-2-McGraw. Yes, McGraw is the first name. 1-844-2-McGraw. You know, we were going to do 1-844-8-McGraw, but that didn't make any sense. You don't want to eat McGraw, right? But 2-McGraw was probably the best one we came up with. 1-844-2-McGraw, which is 1-844-262-4729. Anybody watch 60 Minutes on Sunday night? 60 Minutes on Sunday night. They had a couple of really interesting stories, but one of them, they did a story on Polymarket, which is a betting website. And it's a website which started by a college dropout. And they, how do I explain this? They ask a question. You can bet on, it's a betting site, and you can bet on anything. Who's going to win the presidential race, Biden or Trump? Who's going to win the World Series next year? But even like pop culture, who's going to be the biggest streamer on Spotify? Who's going to, who's going to run for Senate? Who's going to run for president? All these things. So on the break, I checked Pete Hegseth out as Secretary of Defense. And so they have a betting window, if you will, open for and you can bet on polymarket.com, and they don't take any fees. It's just it's crowdsourced. So it's just whoever wants to bet. And right now on Polymarket, the bet is this, the bet is Pete Hegseth out as Secretary of Defense by March 31st. And 26% say yes, he'll be out by March 31st. 75% say no, he won't. Now, if you can bet yes, he'll be out by March 31st. I haven't exactly figured out the odds yet. They have a little thing here. So if I bet $20, let me do this. If I bet $20, I'll win $74. I don't know how that works exactly, but there's a 26% chance, according to everyone who's betting on this, that he'll be out by March 31st. He did get a seal of approval or a stamp of approval by Donald Trump either today or yesterday, which is always the kiss of death, right? Oh, no, he's our guy. He's our guy full-time, right? Anytime in sports when they say, oh, no, he's our coach for the long term, you can expect that the guy's out by the end of the week. But Pete Hegseth is he's taken on water, this poor guy. They brought up again, now they've got the story of him texting the reporter the plans for the bombing. and now he's engaged with this whole thing. I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I would say that Pete Hegseth would be out well before March 31st. I don't know if Trump's going to hang on to him. It's a lot of baggage going on right now with Pete Hegseth, and this story doesn't seem to be going away. All right, here are the phone numbers. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. It's open phones. Let's go to Tony in Montreal, Canada. Tony, welcome to America at Night.
How you doing, McGraw? I just want to talk about security in the United States. And recently, obviously the two people that were gunned down by people that are from other countries that Trump is saying should never have been in the country in the first place. And I think that if you actually go to any of the social platforms, you'll see Islamists, fundamentalists, I call them Islamofascists, calling out for death to America, death to Jews, just death to Christians, calling the United States infidels, etc. I just want to know, where is the limit on free speech when individual people are calling out specific targets? And I think that this type of language is inciting people that are unstable and maybe people that are malicious. And the fact that people are calling for all kinds of deaths of politicians, this is a very bad time. And when you have a group of people that are acting like a cult, I think that that's a dangerous thing, not only in your country, but in Europe, like you see in England with the grooming gangs, etc., raping young girls, and here. And if anyone wants
Tony, let me try and break down your sort of comments, because actually there's a lot that I agree with. But let's remember that social media, first of all, is a cesspool. Second of all, social media isn't really real, right? I don't know what accounts you're looking at, but there's probably a pretty good chance they're Russian bots, Iranian bots that are trying to create some type of angst and or issues within the United States of America. I don't know if they're real people who are actually saying these things, which is hilarious, because not hilarious, but it's right what we're going through today. People look at these things as like really human beings saying these things. No, they're not. They're our enemy trying to divide us. Now, you talk about free speech. That's up to the individual platform, right? We're a radio station. We're on 200, 250, 300 radio stations around the country. We're all regulated by the FCC. There are certain laws, regulations, community standards that we have to go by. Twitter doesn't have those things. And so it's incumbent upon the platform to create some type of community standard. Think of how far we've gone. Lenny Bruce got arrested for using curse words at a comedy club on a Saturday night. And now you can go on the biggest platforms in the world and say the most vile and disgusting things, and then these platforms send it to people who didn't even sign up for these accounts. It's incumbent upon, I don't know where the line is. I have no idea. But I do know that shame on these platforms for pushing this filth and disgust on the American people and everywhere else, because if they're not real people, they're fake algorithms, and they make $1 billion on pushing hate of other Americans, and that's what's destroying the country. But that's just my 2 cents. Tony, great call. Thanks for the conversation. It's a great topic, one in which we all get caught up in it, but we don't realize that these people are outraged, and people are getting outraged over Russian bots that are designed to actually create chaos within our country. Mike in St. Louis, welcome to America at Night. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Do we have another mic or no? Or is that it? That's it? Oh, okay. All right, good. Sorry about that. Mike, call back. No, I just think that, that social media is a cesspool, and my life is so much more enjoyable that I don't really check it all that much. It's disgusting. It's vile. And quite frankly, I don't even get the posts that my friends are posting or that I've signed up to get. I get all these other posts that I didn't even sign up for. So why am I, what's the point of this if all I'm doing is just at the mercy of some algorithm that's trying to promote an agenda? I don't want that. I want my own agenda, right? I want to follow what the Mets are doing. I want to follow what my favorite movie star is doing. I want to follow what, whatever. I don't want to follow a Russian bot trying to promote discrimination or hate in this country. So why are they sending it to me? Doesn't make any sense. 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. We got a break. I'm still learning the clock. I want to break early so we don't get caught up in a double break at the bottom of the hour. But it's open phones. It's America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Give us a call. Back in a moment.
From the heart of America, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. Back to Pete Hegseth in a moment, and then we'll get to Matthew Perry's back in the news. The doctor who supplied him with the ketamine gets sentenced. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But, of course, the hour is all yours, whatever you want to talk with. So let's talk about Pete Hegseth for a second, because this poly market thing is kind of interesting, right? The question on the poly market, 26% of the people who bet on current events, what a world, say that he's going to be out by March 31st. I would say he's going to be out way before March 31st. And here's why. If you look at the landscape here, Judge Napolitano from Newsmax has come out against Pete Hegseth. When you lose Newsmax as a conservative Secretary of Defense, you're in some trouble. And anecdotally, if you listen or just ask a veteran in your sphere, and you ask them not whether or not this is a war crime or not. I am certainly no expert when it comes to military rules of engagement. You have to just listen to the experts, right? And I can't find too many experts who are coming to Pete Hegseth's defense, right? All the talking heads, all the generals, maybe not all of them, but it seems like an overwhelming majority of them are saying that what Pete Hegseth said he did or said he didn't do is over the line. And so I don't know. President Trump is standing by him, obviously, as of now. But Judge Napolitano on Newsmax. But anecdotally, we had a caller last night call up who was sort of lamenting or making jokes about the seditious six. And he said he was in the Navy. And I asked him, would he follow an illegal order? And the man said no. I was like, well, what's the difference? Pete Hegseth said he wouldn't follow a illegal order. But I don't think that this Pete Hegseth survives this much longer. Not only that, it's a drag on the whole administration. This story's not going away. In an age where news cycles last 15 seconds, this thing's not going away. And it's the conservatives who are being critical of Pete Hegseth. There's a couple of senators who are sort of trying to carry the water for the administration, but the overwhelming military that is conservative are the ones who are saying, look, this is bad. This is really over the line. And then, of course, he's trying to say that he wasn't in the room. I left the room. First, he said he was in the room and he saw it, right? When this first happened, he went on Fox and said he saw it. Now he's saying he didn't see it. I left the room. And Bradley, the admiral, was the one who did it. And by golly, he had every right to do it. So he's kind of, right? He's kind of throwing the admiral under the bus a little bit. Everyone's saying it was bad. It was against rules of engagement. Who ordered it, right? And they're like the scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. They're looking at, pointing in different directions. No, he did it. No, you did it. No, he did it. I wasn't there. You guys did it. I don't know how long President Trump hangs on to this guy. I could be wrong, but Pete Hegseth has had a very good week, and I think it's only gonna get worse as the Newsmaxes of the world start to come out for Pete Hegseth. So you're starting to see a whole lot of people publicly who would normally support a Donald Trump Secretary of Defense, sort of not. It's kind of an interesting play. All right. Matthew Perry died of a ketamine overdose and 2 years ago, right, 2023. And the doctor who prescribed the drug, he was the one who was quoted as saying, I wonder how much this moron will pay. Let's find out. And he kept feeding Matthew Perry this ketamine. Ultimately, that's what was the cause of death, right? He took the ketamine and then fell asleep or passed out in the hot tub and then ultimately died, right? Tragic death. Awful, heartbreaking. And so this doctor who prescribed this drug going to get 30 months in prison. And I the only thing I want to say about this is yes, I'm glad that there's some recourse into all of this. My only point is the thousands and thousands and thousands of drug dealers who sell the drugs, the person dies, and the drug dealer is never found again, right? I'm glad they found this one doctor. But, you got to wonder, right? Justice for the rich man, but no justice for the poor, downtrodden, homeless man who was sold a bag of bad drugs who ended up dying. Not that that's, I wish they all could be brought to justice, but you read this story about Matthew Perry, and it's just heartbreaking on so many levels. I read his book. Again, heartbreaking in that, right? He had everything, but he's just the drugs were so overpowerful, and that is such an addiction, something we don't understand. Somebody who's not going through it can't understand why he had everything. He had all the money in the world and fame and fortune, and he couldn't stop doing the drugs. Just a heartbreaking story. But the doctor's getting 30 months. All right, McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Phone calls in a moment on America at Night. This is Westwood One.
Coming to you from the heart of the nation, this is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. Relax. You're listening to America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
That's right. 1-844-2-McGraw. 1-844-2-McGraw or 1-844-262-4729. It's open phones. Let's see who's in South Dakota. Ron in Keystone, South Dakota. Welcome to America at Night.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. What do you got for us?
Well, I guess your staff said I might have been on delay, or you guys might have been on delay, and I was listening as I was going home. And it was talking about the places that residents hung out or their homes or things
Sure.
like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I was wondering if he knew that Calvin Coolidge spent the summer in the Black Hills of South Dakota and basically moved his whole operation out to Custer State Park, which is 80,000 acres. I think it's the second largest state park in South Dakota, and has a 1,000 buffalo herd. And so anyway, I was wondering if he knew anything about that. And actually, when his wife came with him and his whole staff, and they named several things. I think there's a Grace Coolidge Lodge and some other things, Mount Coolidge. And that was kind of his legacy about the Black Hills at that time.
Now,
he was in staff.
Was the Black Hills then? I mean, was Mount Rushmore up there and everything else when Coolidge was? I don't think so, right? He was in the late 1800s, wasn't he, when he was president?
No, he was. No, it was later on than that.
Okay, all right.
So anyway,
I apologize.
Anyway,
but I mean, when was Mount Rushmore completed?
1940.
In the 40s,
Started
okay.
in something like 31 or so, or about 30, and it was completed about 40.
Yeah.
And actually, the war was on, so they never dedicated it. George Bush, the first George Bush, came out to South Dakota in '92, and it was 50 years at that time to dedicate it. So he came out, a lot of dignitaries, and that was the original. They finally did that after 50 years.
It's funny you mentioned this because we were having Thanksgiving dinner, and we were talking about what we were going to do next summer. I have a 5-year-old. They call me Tony Randall, by the way. And we were talking about a summer trip, and I said, you know what I always wanted to do? I said I always wanted to rent an RV and go see Mount Rushmore. And 6 people at the table said, I'm in. I'd love to do. I mean, every single one at the table said that was like one of their bucket list items was to go and take a trip to Mount Rushmore and see it. I mean, it's got to be magnificent.
Oh, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got some amazing stories to it, and Park Service does a good job of running it. They've got a great interpretive center where they have the collection of tools that they use, pictures, correspondence between Borglum and all of the presidents, as time went on, all the 10 years that presidents were there and the people behind it.
Yeah.
And I, being a South Dakota native, I grew up in a little place called Hot Springs, which is 50 miles south of Rushmore. And I've lived in Keystone for 35 years and ran a tourist trap. And so anyway, but I tell you, one of the funnest things I think I've ever seen is when you have a family with 3 generations or 4 generations that show up. And I always ask, okay, the grandparents, when did you bring the kids? And now that you have 3 generations there, it's kind of a family thing that they repeat a lot.
Yeah. No, it's a great deal. Hey, Ron, thanks for checking in. Glad you're listening. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, I want to plug Crazy Horse is also being carved at this time. They're making some pretty good progress on that. Much larger than Rushmore. Private operation, takes private donations.
Yeah.
But South Dakota's getting hot. I'm seeing online a lot of, promotion about it. And in my hometown, there's a original warm water spring there that a gal has refurbished. It's called Moxon Springs, and that's really getting popular. But Hot Springs was really the first spa town in the Black Hills. For the lack of better science, there were doctors there that would claim that you could drink it, sit in it, or just be there, I guess, and it would cure anything. One of those.
Why not? Sure. So, yeah. Hey, I'll ask Bill next time he's on the show if he's been up to see Mount Rushmore and if he can add a little stuff to it. I should also mention that in the coming weeks and months, we are going to start having some experts from the national parks come on and sort of do a tour of the national parks and take a place like these national parks and have a docent or a tour guide come in and give us all the insights. So that's some of the things that we're planning for the show. Jim in Omaha. Jim, you are on America at Night. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Hi, It's good evening, and the name is Kent. The name is
Kent.
Kent, not Jim. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
Kent. I see. Kent. Good evening.
Kent.
Tim.
I would like to tie together your headset topic with your Matthew Perry topic.
Okay.
All right. We would not have to be bombing these drug ships if they are indeed drug ships. We would not have to be bombing them if we took the money that we're spending on missiles and airplanes and all of this and locking up nonviolent drug offenders. If we took that money and put it into rehab and mental health issues, we could help dry up the desire for the drugs. And if you dry up the desire, you'll dry up the supply. Okay? I mean, the only reason they're bringing these drugs into the country is because we got a bunch of Americans that want to do it. A lot of people with mental health problems that want to go and get high, and a lot of people can do that and control it. But if you can't control it, then instead of doing fentanyl and stuff like that, maybe you go and get rehab, and maybe you go and get some mental health help, and the fentanyl problem goes away.
The great thing about America is if you want to buy it, somebody will sell it to you, no matter what it is. A widget, a drug, a car, a house, you name it. If you want to buy it, somebody will sell it to you. And Kent or Tim or Tom, whatever your name is, in Omaha, the drug trade is all about supply and demand. They will, whatever it takes to get these drugs into the country. If somebody's willing to buy the cocaine, the fentanyl, I get trying to stop it. I get trying to stop it at the borders or having China come in or, try and help curtail it. But Venezuela is really not where the drugs are coming from. And to get a low-level drug dealer, if these boats are full of cocaine, it's taking a sledgehammer to an ant. That's not the problem, right? The problem is all the other drugs that are coming in and all the other mules that are coming in. Americans who are drug runners. But yeah, no, it's a point well taken, Kent. I appreciate the phone call. It is true, though. It is true. If nobody wanted to buy the cocaine, they wouldn't bring it in the country. They wouldn't risk their lives to bring it into the country. If nobody wanted to buy the fentanyl, they wouldn't risk their lives trying to bring the fentanyl into the country. Same for the undocumented workers, right? I mean, they want to come into the country. They make it harder to come into the country, but they're still going to come into the country. The tunnels, and the minute you stop them, they come up with a different tunnel. The minute you stop them coming in on the Rio Grande, then they fly in. The minute you stop them, going through the airports, they're going to go through the Canada, right? I mean, they're going to get in. That's what's sort of comical about the whole thing, right? The 15 of the 19 hijackers came in from Canada, and we want to close the southern border. That never made any sense to me. But Kent, thanks for the phone call. It is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven, 1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. Listen to this. I was talking about those poly markets. Pete Hegseth out by September or March 31st. Here you go. A poly market gambling site question. Mike Johnson out as speaker by March 31st. So you got Pete Hegseth out by March 31st. That's at 26%, according to the people who are gambling, right? Which a lot of people say is more accurate than anything else. But Mike Johnson out as speaker by March 31st. That's at 22%. They're starting to turn on Mike Johnson. Republicans are starting to eat their young. Republicans against Republicans. It is getting dicey out there. Mike Johnson, right? You've got this Elise Stefanik going after Mike Johnson. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene going after him. They're not happy with Mike Johnson. And according to the poly markets, by March 31st, 22% of the bettors think he is going to be out. Pete Hegseth's doing not that much worse at 26%. So Mike Johnson and Pete Hegseth, there's about, 20% of the people who think they're not going to be around much longer. We'll wait and see how it all turns out. Stay right there. McGraw Milhaven, America at Night. Back in a moment.
Join the conversation. Call 844-2-McGraw. America at Night with McGraw Milhaven. This is America at Night with McGraw Milhaven.
1-844-2-McGraw, 1-844-2-McGraw, or 1-844-262-4729. Those are the phone numbers, and we got about a couple minutes left, so if you want to sneak in a quick phone call, we'll keep the lines open for you. We got a couple of lines open right now for you, 1-844-2-McGraw. Before we go, though, can we talk about Olivia Nunzi for a moment? Olivia Nunzi was... a lot of people knew who she was. She was a talking head on a lot of the TV shows, and she was a writer for New York Magazine, and she was very attractive, and she was, making the rounds as a talking head. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the story comes out that she was having a texting relationship, an inappropriate texting relationship, with then RFK Jr., who was just private citizen RFK Jr., who is married to Cheryl Hines, who played Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm. How's that for a story? So this Olivia Nunzi, who was this attractive writer, who's got some, she's got some attention, is a writer for The New Yorker, and she does this profile of RFK Jr. when he's running for president. Apparently they hit it off, and they start having some type of sexual texting relationship. This comes out during the campaign, and ultimately she gets fired. He, of course, drops out of the race, endorses Trump, and now is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Okay. So now she writes a book. She hasn't really talked about it. Her fiancé leaves her. He's talking all over town, this guy. And she writes a book. And she writes this book, and the book is now out. It's like out today. And the book is American Canto. And I thought I knew what canto meant, and I looked it up, and I'm right. It's a poem. It's a part of a poem. It's like I think it's like paragraphs, like a stanza of a poem. And so she names her book American Canto, like an American poem. Seems a little interesting for a name. Maybe I'm missing something on that. But then she goes on to talk about how she helped RFK Jr.'s campaign while she's going on MSNBC bashing Trump all day long. She talks about RFK's hidden drug use. She talks about his violent temper. All of this is in this book that's now out about the Secretary of Health and Human Services. What? So a woman who had an affair with the man, still married to Cheryl Hines, is going around telling people that you should or shouldn't be having vaccines for all sorts of things. And the man is in the middle of using drugs. Now, she won't say, maybe she does in the book, but when asked about it, apparently in this book tour, she refuses to answer what kind of drugs he's on. This story is more bizarre by the minute. And so she's now out promoting her book. And I don't know if I want to read this book. One, the man is still married. So you have this affair with this man. He's still married. Then your career is blown up. I mean, not in a good way. Her journalistic integrity's, in the underwater. And now apparently she's just been named Vanity Fair's West Coast editor. This one is for the books bizarre. I don't get it. Again, she's talking about the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who's in the middle of a violent rage while dating the girlfriend while he's married to Cheryl Hines. This one is, and that's it. That's not even a story today. The story is the Secretary of Defense, who may or may not have committed a war crime. I mean, I don't know. I don't think any of this is normal. It's interesting. It's bizarre. But I don't think it's normal that this would be going on. And when does RFK Jr. have to answer to these questions? I don't know. I don't know. But this one is for the books. But the name of the book is American Canto, like American poem. She's calling her book a poem, or I don't know. Who's going to ask to release the text messages? I'd like to see those text messages. You got that story, and then the story. ABC News has picked it up. It's a local story here in St. Louis that there was an officer in St. Louis that was pulling over women in cars and then asking for their insurance card, taking the phone, going back to the car, and then searching the phone for nude photos. And apparently he took 20 different women's phones and took their photos. Now, of course, that's ridiculous and insane, and he's going to go to jail. But my bigger question is, who knew so many women had naked photos of themselves on their phones? But I'll leave that for another night because we are officially out of town. I'll leave you with that. I didn't get to my Harry Truman story. We'll get to that maybe tomorrow night. Thank Bill Clevlen for stopping by. Dante King talking about AI and how it's taken jobs away from humans. And, of course, phone calls. Also, I'd like to thank our executive director, Alex Hinton. Our engineer tonight is Richard Good. I'm McGraw Milhaven, and this is America at Night on Westwood One.